Welcome to the segment. During the period of time in the United States known as the laissez-faire era, the government rarely intervened in the economy and the private sector. The economy of the United States stood and ran on the fundamental principle that the job of government was to simply govern and oversee the economy, not to regulate and establish control over it. The laissez-faire era soon ended, however, after the start of the Great Depression and the era of the New Deal. When the United States fell into recession, the public began to increasingly lose faith in the non-interventionist state of government, thus sparking the creation of new government programs and increased spending in order to jumpstart the economy. Following the end of the New Deal era and the Great Depression, the United States began to see an increase in the deregulation of the economy, as the presidents who succeeded Roosevelt looked to return the state of government to at least partly where it stood during the laissez-faire era. The era of the New Deal and the Great Depression is also known as the Progressive Era, an era which marked the birth of the Federal Reserve System, the banking system of the United States, which still stands today through the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. I got a chance to sit down with economist Will Ahrens. Let's take a look. With me here is a student of Kalamazoo College who studied under economist and professor John Maynard Keynes. He graduated with a degree in guitar theory and still studies economics today. Thank you for being here with us, sir.
Thank you for having me on.
Who was John Maynard Keynes? What was he known for, and why is his name still so prominent in the world of politics and economics today?
John Maynard Keynes was a prominent English economist who believed government intervention in the economy was the best route to jumpstarting it.
So then, generally speaking, what kind of economic policies did he support and wish to be implemented into society?
Keynes believed that even in a deficit, even in debt, spending money to stimulate the economy was still a good thing.
Then why did he believe in spending money to stimulate the economy, even with the risk of putting the government in debt?
Keynes believed that spending a buck to create two was the best way to jumpstart an economy. In 2008, during the height of the recession, Obama echoed these policies when he bailed out the auto industry in an effort to jumpstart the economy.
So could deficit spending eventually cripple the economy?
The debt ceiling is a hypothetical level in which a country cannot accumulate more debt than it already has. It's not a true level, but eventually it'll cause the economy to collapse and default on its payments. Greece is an example of this, as it had too much debt for the amount of money it was making, and it eventually led to a crisis.
Could an economic crisis in the United States affect other parts of the world as well?
Yes, the global economy of the 21st century is so intertwined that a collapse of one bloc or one country can trigger a global financial recession, and that is what happened in 2008, where it wasn't just America that fell into recession, it was the entire world.
Thanks, Will. Now back to the station. Now let me hand it off to George.
The Federal Reserve, more commonly known as the Fed, is the central bank of the United States that controls the day-to-day operations of the banking sector. There are 12 Federal Reserve banks in various regions throughout the country. The Fed has three main functions: open market operations, discount rates, and reserve requirements. Each of these serve a specific role in stimulating, helping grow the economy, and keeping jobs. Open market operations include the ability to buy and sell bonds. Discount rates deal with interest rates that the Fed gives out to banks in order for people to qualify for more loans and mortgages. Reserve requirements are rules stating how much money a bank should have on hand per $100 deposit that should be counted towards someone's loans. The Board of Governors is the name of a group consisting of 7 individuals that serve in government positions in the Fed. They serve 14-year staggered terms. They, like the heads of IRCs, have staggered terms that try to maintain a divide from politics, and in addition to that, the staggered terms serve the purpose of making sure that there's a smooth economic transition between administrations, because each term comes to an end in the middle of a president's administration. They make most of the economic decisions regarding interest rates and the supply of money in our economy. The chairperson is elected by the president in the middle of their term to further maintain the divide from politics and a smooth transition between administrations. The Fed plays a large part in monetary policy, which is the policy that relates to the cash flow throughout our economy. Now back to you.
Thanks, George. Now let me hand it off to my co-reporter, Tudor.
Thanks, Junghyun. Now let's talk about income security policy. With the Great Depression bringing great turmoil with massive unemployment leading to a corrosive effect on the economy and moral character of the American people, FDR was elected president, leading to the federal government to play a more active part in revitalizing America after the Great Depression. During the New Deal, FDR created programs such as the Civil Works Administration, otherwise known as the CWA, which put 4 million people to work but was later disbanded due to corruption. Another famous federal program was the Works Progress Administration, otherwise known as the WPA, which hired people to construct public buildings and roads. Along with these programs, in 1955, the Social Security Act was passed, which was meant to protect people against the loss of income with three main components, being old age insurance, which gave a source of income to retired workers and gave some sort of a measure of security for those who are too old to work, a public assistance for the needy, aged, blind, and families with dependent children, and unemployment insurance for those who were fired without cause. The Social Security program is also a non-means tested program, which means it provides a cash assistance and qualified beneficiaries regardless of incomes. Unlike a means-tested program like the Supplemental Security Income and Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which require people to have incomes below specified levels to be eligible for benefits. Now that you know about income security policy, let's sit down with Alexander and talk about recession and economic recovery. So Alex, tell us a little bit about the economic recession.
All right, so basically the biggest economic recession that's happened in recent years is obviously the 2008 recession. And the government responded in a plethora of different ways throughout the two administrations of Bush and Obama.
So what did the government do?
So the Bush administration opted to pass the Temporary Assets Relief Program, or TARP, to bail out large banks. Then Obama administration actually made tax cuts in an attempt to revive the economy, and in time the economy did heal.
So what do you think contributed to that?
So first, lowered interest rates, put more money back into the banking system, and additionally, new government measures were designated to regulate mortgages and lending were instituted. More regulation was also additionally placed to limit international economic interconnection.
What other ways can the U.S. get out of the recession?
So a lot of the ways that people have to heal the economy have to do with income security policy, which if employed properly can provide major relief to those adversely affected by a recession. And it can put major pressure on state governments to, balance budgets.
So for Bush to institute such a hands-on approach, that seems a little counterintuitive to his party, seeing as Republicans believe in a less interference with the economy.
Well, I think for the time, both parties agreed to kind of sacrifice their long-term consequences for immediate results, to make sure that the economy healed.
Thanks for the interview.
All right, thank you.